Hello once again, it's me, Councillor James, just about to hop in the bath, but before I did, I thought I'd take the time, well, I've got a bit of time to do me weekly vlog. And the topics for today are, well, it was going to be the unfolding free school meals slash long-standing food poverty issue here where I am, and throughout poor parts of the UK. We will touch on that, but I've just found out today, today's Thursday, end of October, I'm not sure what the date is, that Corbyn's been, hot news at the minute, Corbyn's been suspended by Sir Establishment, Sir Stammerer, one of the worst zippy impersonators from Rainbow I've ever heard. If you're not of a certain age from the UK, you probably won't get that comedy reference. Attempt at a comedy reference. So yes, he's been suspended pending investigation. This is a standard, or has been the standard, sort of how can I put it, sort of textbook way of getting rid of your enemies within the Labour Party, particularly from the sort of centre-right, supposed centre-right of the party. The people that are in charge and have been in charge for under Starmer now for, what's it now, 8 months, maybe 7-8 months. So personally, I'm surprised it's taken Starmer and Blair, who of course is backing Starmer, and the Blairite MPs that fill the Labour Party, the PLP, it's taken them this long to suspend Corbyn pending investigation, which was always going to be the way they were going to get Corbyn out. They did it with Mark Wadsworth while Corbyn was was supposedly in charge as a leader of Labour. They did it with Jackie Walker. They did it with Ken Livingstone. They did it with Chris Williamson, sorry. All while Corbyn was the leader of Labour. Corbyn said, I don't know what he did, but he said virtually nothing about any of those supporters of his, the few sort of vocal supporters within the higher echelons of the Labour Party. And so they were suspended, being supporters of Corbyn's, vocal ones, suspended pending investigation. There were, I don't know if there still are, but for more than a year, there were hundreds of vocal Corbyn supporters, just ordinary members throughout the PLPs, who were indefinitely suspended pending investigation, who I don't know, even now, I don't know if any of them have been actually had a proper, due process through the procedure within the Labour Party appeals procedure. They hadn't for like I say, at least a year, hundreds and hundreds of them, to my knowledge, at the time when I left the party in December, I think, or just before Labour got trounced in last December. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I'd been a Labour Party member for about 5 or 6 years, from about 2014. Yes, 2014. I'd been a party member. Wasn't active or anything. I just was a member, like a lot of members were, but then became engrossed, extremely active here locally with Labour and its sort of, this is Welsh Labour in Wales, Welsh Labour and its grassroots movement, other local movements like Real People's Assembly, all that sort of stuff. My own campaigns on the high street here for years with my mate Duncan, every Saturday, outside the job centre against benefit sanctions brought in by the Tories, against food bank, the need for food banks, you know, not against food banks, but the need for food banks, all this sort of stuff. For years, I was doing my own thing with Duncan, Duncan on the street here. So I was heavily involved in all of that. I mean, it took over my life, I'd say, from about summer 2016 right up to last December. So what's that? Well, about 3 years, 3.5 years at least. Just took over my life, really, in many ways. And obviously, in 2017, so about a year after I got heavily involved, I ran for the local election here as a community councillor, and was voted in. But, as I say, since December last year, I think it was about 2 weeks before the election, I'd left the party to go independent. So I've been independent now for almost a year, isn't it now? Which has been lovely. It's been lovely to be outside of the Labour Party. Yeah, it's been very nice to be outside the Labour Party, to be honest. I'll not have to personally go through any of the sort of stuff that's now going on with Corbyn and went on under Corbyn, with people that supported him at the time. People, like, as I say, I was a member well before Corbyn, even the Corbyn thing happened, well before Miliband was still in charge of the party. So before the change, the election from Miliband, when he stood down after the defeat in 2015's election, to Corbyn, who then took over, was elected in I think September 16, was it, from memory. So I didn't join as part of the Corbynista sort of revolution, £3 membership sort of thing within the party. I was already there in the party. I don't call myself a left winger because I don't know what that means anymore, to be honest. Particularly within Labour, I don't think that's an actual usable, workable term you can make sense of anymore. What I am is a working class councillor or a person, just resident here, who lives here, who just wants the best for people who haven't got anything, to be honest. Just wants people who haven't got anything, are having to use the food banks and all that sort of stuff, to get a fair deal, to get the life chances they're not getting. If you want to call that left wing, if you want to call that socialism, go ahead. I don't care what you call it, but that's all I'm bothered about, to be honest. That's why I'm here, that's why I'm doing this. I joined up. Anyway, it quickly became clear to me when I started becoming heavily involved in the Labour Party, again, even before Corbyn sort of came along, that the Labour Party was extremely right focused. It was it'd been obviously been in the hands of Blair, and of course Blair's backers were the same sort of backers that back the Tories and Labour now. Big business. The rich, the 1%, they're the people that back. This is the problem with our entire system. These are the people that back and effectively run our main two parties, the vast majority of the print media, a good portion of the television media. So you're only going to get what the rich men, rich people, rich women want. The big corporations, the banks want. You're only going to get what benefits them, policy-wise. You're only going to get or hear about their narrative. You're not going to hear about what people who don't have anything, who are having to go to food banks, who are affected by the this week and last week's free school meals vote, those families. You're not going to hear about what they need and want. You never do, because that's not how the system in this country, in America, in wealthy countries, is set up. It's set up It's set up. It's rigged. It's set up to look out for and consolidate the power of those already in power, of the rich, of the wealthy. Now you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. If you're of any age and lived long enough, you know this. You know, this isn't a shock to anybody. That doesn't mean you, me, the people that are going through that haven't got any power or say, the poorest, the worst off, don't try and do something about that, you know? In politics, in the Houses of Commons, Houses of Lords, over in the Senate in America, House of Representatives, you have professional lobbyists working for oil companies. Again, the big concerns, the banks and all this sort of stuff, and financial institutions. They're there lobbying. They're employed by those rich big institutions to lobby the government, to lobby ministers, to create policy that favours them, or not implement laws that they think would hurt damage their bottom line. What goes into their shareholders' pockets at the end of the financial year. So why shouldn't we lobby? The thing is, we can't pay anyone to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. So this is why we're doing it. So the whole, I'm in Wales, so it's slightly different, but the whole Marcus Rashford thing over in England, the bill that was put through Parliament, and then Boris Johnson whipped, of course, his MPs to vote it down, which they did. Very surprisingly for me, sections of the media I did not expect and would not usually, and have never usually paid attention to this, actually did, and I think that's largely down to Marcus Rashford, to be honest, so well done to him. Otherwise I don't think they would have. I think it would have been forgotten about, swept under the carpet, move on, So hopefully there's a U-turn around the corner for families in England that need this little bit of help over the holiday periods. We've known about food poverty for poor kids and poor families over holiday periods for years and years and years, this whole thing of Johnson trying to sort of put a good spin on it by I think he was standing in some sort of food bank or something. It was bread all round him, all sorts of stuff, which was a very odd place to do this after the vote. Going about talking about him and his government. He won't let any children go hungry over the holiday period. Well, 10 years too late for that one, mate. That's been going on year after year after year, as you well know. I don't know. I'm not sure who he thinks he's fooling. Who doesn't know this? But then again, I also had to laugh because the same people that were actually reporting it, which was nice in the media, on the morning sort of television programmes and things, wealthy TV presenters who live in lovely leafy parts of London where other rich people live. Also at the same time, while they were debating this with other sort of well-off media types in London, it's always London, isn't it? It's London-centric, totally London-centric. One of them came out with this is one of the presenters. I don't think. I think the Tories have been criticised, haven't they? Conservative MPs for not understanding poor people because they don't meet with poor people, or I had to laugh. I had to laugh because, as I say, Labour and the Tories just battled each other on this, but I had to laugh because I thought, you're talking about Conservative Tory Party MPs. Since when did they ever give a flying toss about poor people? The remarks from, I can't remember what his name was during the week, that a Tory MP, and this is what, if he said it, many of them obviously hold this view. I've heard two of them actually. He said something like giving school children from poor families free school meals is the same as giving money to crack dens and brothels or something. This is what they actually believe. They don't just They don't just forget about the poor, they actively hate the poor. They think if you haven't, you've got to understand the mentality of your average Tory MP that I've seen over the years, and I'm not saying every Tory, but Tory MP of the sort of Boris Johnson ilk that are in now, is that if you're poor, it's your fault. If your kids can't eat, it's your fault. That's also the opinion of many people that are in the media. These presenters on television, the newsreaders, the editors, the producers, rich people that live in London. On the whole, the people that edit the papers, the newspaper owners. This is because none of them have been poor. None of them have had to do what you have to do to get by. None of them have had to live in the real world. Or if they have, it was a very, very long time ago and they've forgotten all about it because they don't have to now and haven't had to do for a long time. This is the facts. That's the problem. The reason we're in the situation we're in with where kids 20 years into the 21st century. Remember it was back in the 20th century? The 21st century is going to be a magical period where the playing field, for poverty is going to be balanced out with technology and all this sort of stuff. We're 2 decades into the 21st century, and with an explosion of food banks because people have to use them now, and we're still talking about, will the Tories in government please, they'll probably be the same, similar with Labour, but will the Tories in government please feed poor kids over the summer break? 20 years in. What's the difference between the Tories and Labour, between Boris Johnson and Sir Keir, is that Sir Keir's Labour will pretend that they're your friends, pretend they understand, go through the pretence at election time, voting time. That's what the Tories do. The Tories, you see, the comments from their MPs this week about poor people, and they just, shows their disdain and utter disdain and hatred of poor people. They just don't. They don't really try to pretend to hide their disdain. It's still there with Labour. They just pretend to hide it to an extent, for various cultural, historical reasons. It's the same in America now. We've got the Trump versus Biden election coming soon. It's the same there. The Democrats, who are supposed to be the Labour version of the sort of more progressive, apparently, party over in the US, versus the Republicans, Trump's sort of party. Exactly the same. They're still, like ours, still owned by the same paymasters, the same rich people, the same lobbyists, the same shareholders of banks and massive energy companies. They're literally being paid to a much higher level. The campaigns are being funded on both sides, But again, there, Biden and Harris, who are supposed to be for the party, the Democrats, for the working people and also the ordinary people, they pretend to be, but of course they're not, because they're paid by the same people that their opponents are paid by. In fact, I'm not supporting anybody because I'm independent, but Trump's exactly the same as Biden. In fact, actually, in one way, there's going to be because I'll tell you, if and when Biden wins the election, expect the military conflicts, wars around the world in the Middle East to escalate, the amount of them, and the ones that are there to be ramped up, because that's what the huge paying companies that make the arms that the US Army and armies around the world, military, sort of buy from them, of course want. They want to up their share price, and that means conflict, keeping conflict rolling. It's not rocket science, that's just basic economics. The only thing Trump has not done, frankly, really, is he hasn't done that. I don't know why he hasn't done that, but he hasn't done that. Obama, I believe, bombed Afghanistan so much, Obama, Mr. Progressive, They actually ran out of bombs. The US military, they ran out. There were more drone strikes killing hundreds and hundreds. An entire wedding party in one case of innocent people under Obama over in different other people's countries. More drone strikes under his leadership than anybody before him. Obama presided over increased conflicts, increased wars. Libya, Syria, on top of what had gone before with Iraq and all of that, pushing for Iran. So expect the same with Biden. It's the same, different faces, same stuff. So my general point would be, don't expect any parties, any governments, Labour or Tory, Democrat or Republican, to ever actually care or try to fix the problem, the long-standing problem of horrendous poverty and growing systemic poverty amongst young people who are being thrown into poverty in increasing numbers as the years go on, because the system isn't designed to suit their needs, to meet their needs. It's there to meet the needs of rich people. End of story. But again, you know this, you should know this. If you've lived any sort of time, you'll understand that. The question is, what are you and me going to do about it? I know what I'm doing about it, which is what I can at the moment. What have you done? What are you going to do about it? It's up to us to lobby for ourselves. So that's that done. The Jeremy Corbyn thing, look, as I say, I've been amazed. It's taken 8 months for Sir Starmer, Mr. Blair's poodle, to actually suspend pending investigation Jeremy Corbyn. I was never part of, as I say, I was never part of the Corbyn sort of revolution. I supported Corbyn to an extent because it was a chance, as I saw it, a slim chance, but a chance to try and drag the party back, when I was in it, back from the corporate pampering, corporate loving bank sort of political wing of the banks, back towards serving actual people, us. I thought it was a very slim chance, but it was some, probably the only one in my lifetime that I've seen with the Labour Party. And of course it failed, because the failure of Corbyn was, just like Bernie Sanders back over in the US, is could talk the talk, but talk's cheap. There's no point having epithets and nice things to say and being a nice guy. Sure he is, I'm sure he is. But talk doesn't get it done. You have to take action. You have to do. You have to back up your talk. Don't just talk, do it. And of course, what Corbyn did, and increasingly as time went on, was he let his enemies, who were many within the party, just constantly stab him in the back, stab him in the front, get away with anything they wanted to get away with, literally anything, including Starmer. Starmer was there to wreck the whole thing from within, and he's just sort of sat there and watched Corbyn, which was bizarre. So I'm afraid the only person to blame for the failure of Labour in December, I'm afraid, or the person in large part, is Corbyn, for not doing what he needed to do. But I know that he's a nice guy. What he said were nice things, but you need to be a leader, and in these circumstances, it's no use to me or the people I represent here, who are the people that are needing these free school meals still. We've been told to sod off now by the Tories and their MPs. It's no good to us that Jeremy Corbyn's happy that he changed a few sort of procedures within Labour temporarily, sort of just being changed back to make it a bit more democratic, or said some nice things in speeches which were very nice and very true. It doesn't help. Has it helped them put food on the table now during the summer break? No, of course it hasn't, because the whole thing collapsed. It lost. He lost. We lost. And it's back to where it was, if not worse now, after Corona. The effects of the Corona sort of lockdown economically. And all the deaths, of course. So, fine. Say some nice things. I might like on a personal level, but absolutely frigging useless for people who needed the change. That was some small chance. So there we are. So I'm no sort of apologist for Corbyn. I'm no apologist for Labour. Quite the opposite. Certainly no apologist for the Tories. They're all part of the rich man's club. So this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm going to have a go at running when we have the Welsh Parliament, they're going to be called, aren't they? Welsh Parliament elections early next year, because I feel you've got to have some choice here between other than more Welsh Labour or more Welsh Tories candidates. I mean, as I said before, two cheeks of the same backside. Two cheeks of the same rich shareholding, pampered rich man's backside. So I have nothing to. I'm independent, so I have nothing to do with any of them. I don't have to play by their rules. I don't have to listen to what they say. I'm elected now, and if I'm elected in the future to any other sort of post, I'm there to represent the people that elected me, and the people within the area that didn't elect me. That's my job, and that should be their jobs. But unfortunately, of course, the careerist, I deserve to be, an MP or an AM or an MS. It's my sort of right. I deserve to be, on the gravy train. Money, 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 power, power, power. Me. Of course, it draws people like that. Politics draws people like that to it, unfortunately. So anyway, that's my sort of 2 cents, as it were, over those two topics. So, right, I'm off for me bath. God, I love a bath. Nice and relaxing. I always think things pop into my head when I'm having a bath. I don't know, same with you, but my mind sort of clears, and then sort of things, very, very useful thoughts, sort of start to appear while I'm lying there in the bath. So anyway, take care, stay safe, watch out. Corona's about, and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.